Shalom, children. Have you ever sat and looked at the night sky on a dark night? Were you able to count the stars? Or was there just too many? In the Torah, we read that a long time ago, Yahweh told a man named Abraham to look at the stars and count them if he could. That was how many descendants he would have that would love and serve Adonai. Wow, what a promise! Today, we are going to hear about some men who knew all about the stars and liked to look at them too. They were able to tell what month of the year it was just by looking and seeing the stars above them in the night sky. The scriptures tell us that these men lived east of the land of Israel, so they could have been Persian or Arabian. Many who followed the mitzvot of the Torah and studied the writings of the prophets were waiting for Messiah to come and bring the children of Israel back to obediently loving and serving Adonai. Our wise men in the East had been taught to watch the sky very carefully, for one day a very bright star would appear as a sign that a sovereign of Yehuda had been born. They knew this sovereign would be someone very special, and they wanted to visit him and pay their respect and show honor. One day, when they were checking the sky, they saw the sign. Do you think they were very excited? It meant they had to do a lot of packing for the long journey to Jerusalem. Have you ever been on a long trip and needed to pack a large suitcase full of all your clothes? Perhaps you packed your favorite teddy bear or a book. Well, these wise men from the East had to take enough provisions for themselves and for all the servants they needed for the long trip ahead of them. At that time, the Roman government had appointed a man named Herod to be king over Yehuda. The wise men from the east finally arrived in Jerusalem and asked where the sovereign of Yehuda was. But they weren't talking about Herod. They were looking for the sovereign whose birth had been announced by the sign in the sky. Herod was quite troubled by their inquiries. Do you think he was worried that someone was going to take over his job without his permission? He called for the scribes of the Torah and asked them where this Messiah, according to their scriptures, was prophesied to be born. They explained to him that the prophet Micah has said he would come out of Bethlehem, that a ruler would come shepherding the people of Israel. Herod called for a private meeting with the travelers from the east, asking when they first saw this special star. He would then be able to calculate how old Messiah was. He then told them to go to Bethlehem, find the child, and then to let him know exactly where he was, so he too could go and worship him. Do you think he really wanted to go and pay honor to the child? Do you think the wise men from the east will go back to Herod and give him the details of where Yeshua is living? The men set off towards Bethlehem, and the star which they had seen in the east went before them. The star came to a standstill when they reached the house where the child Yeshua was living. The men were full of joy and rejoiced. Do you remember the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night in the wilderness? That went before the children of Israel like the star. It moved and stood still, directing them when and where to go. The traveling men entered into the house and found Miriam with Yeshua. They bowed down before him and gave gifts, which were usually given to honor a king, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, which were very expensive. Later, when the men were asleep, they were warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, so they went a different way back home to avoid bumping into any of Herod's soldiers. When Herod realized the men were not coming back with news of where the child was, he was very angry. He had worked out that this new sovereign of Yehuda must have been almost 2 years old, and so he made a decree that all boys under the age of 2 should be killed by his soldiers. Oh dear, how will Yeshua and his family escape now with the soldiers on the way to Bethlehem? Yahweh found a way through. He sent a messenger who appeared to Joseph in a dream, telling him to take Yeshua and his mother Miriam and flee to Mitzrayim because Herod wanted to find Yeshua and kill him. So they quickly arose and left in the night. Well, children, that is the end of our story for today. So we will see you next time for another exciting journey in the life of Yeshua. Shalom.
Be still, my beating heart. Do not be troubled. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, though thousands fall at your side, you will take shelter in the Most High. Most High, Most High. I will say of Yahweh, He is my refuge, my refuge. He will cover you and under